Released in October of 2016, the PlayStation VR was the first modern console-based virtual reality system. I waited for the PSVR to simmer down on the market a bit before I dove in, but once I started to see price drops and some pretty good bundle deals, I decided it was time to go 360. Well, not Xbox 360, but 360 degrees of head-tracking motion technology. This was my first true virtual reality experience. Now, of course, I did grow up with the Virtual Boy, but that was really just a 3D screen that you stuck to your face uncomfortably. But PlayStation VR, this is what I imagined as a kid when I heard virtual reality, putting yourself into the game. And as soon as I put on that headset, I fell in love with it. Virtual reality is an experience worth having, and you have to see it to believe it. You gotta try it for yourself. And I know I'm a little bit late to the virtual reality game, okay? And I wouldn't say VR is really mainstream yet, but the PSVR is getting close. It's outsold its competitors, the HTC Vive and the Oculus Rift. It's certainly growing. And I think that has to do with the fact that the PSVR is so easy to use. If you already have a PlayStation 4, you just hook it up to your existing hardware and it's ready to go. No demanding PC requirements to worry about or setting up base stations and cameras everywhere. You just got the one PlayStation 4 camera and maybe, some motion controllers if you want to up your VR experience. It just works, and not much has changed since its initial release in 2016, aside from a slightly updated processor unit, a more streamlined headset, and I guess they added micro USB ports to the Move controllers if you buy new ones. But there wasn't much need for a change, and most people say that the PSVR headset is one of the most comfortable, so much so that other companies, I think, are trying to emulate what the PSVR has done with their headset. And I have to agree, I've worn the headset for way longer than is probably healthy for the eyesight. I'm gonna need new glasses soon. The only thing that really bothered me is the cord, but that's just something you have to learn to get used to when it comes to virtual reality. You just have this cord sense of where that cord is as you're playing the games. And until we have a true wireless solution, it is what it is. But it all comes down to the games. So let's strap on that VR headset because it's time to get real with the Playroom VR. The original Playroom served as a tech demo of the brand new PS4 camera. It offered some quick, augmented reality experiences that required the camera. But hey, it didn't cost anything as long as you had the camera, and Sony was nice enough to push out some updates to the games that were offered in the Playroom. I even tried out the Playroom back then. Oh my goodness, that's a lot of robots. And then you just randomly get a rubber duck. No big deal. It's just a ducky, see? He's got these little diddly bobs here that you can tickle. But the Playroom VR stands alone and might be the ultimate virtual reality party game. The Playroom VR is tailor-made for the virtual reality headset, so let's check out the games. Robots Rescue is a fairly simple 3D platformer. The twist, of course, virtual reality. The PS4 controller acts as an RC transmitter to control your very own Playroom robot. You'll be moving through the colorful landscape, punching, jumping, and possibly getting a little taste of vertigo as you float over tremendous heights. Now, virtual reality has yet to make me motion sick, but I have to admit that standing over complete nothingness in VR, it's a very odd feeling. Your goal? Collect as many coins and rescue as many robots as you can. You'll really have to use your head, literally, to look around every corner, nook, cranny, crevice. Just be careful because you might end up knocking down some rocks And those spooked me. Those did spook me when they popped off of the cliffs or the tunnels or the whatever it was. I don't know. It was frightening. Startling is probably a better word. The controls feel nice whether you're grappling and tightrope walking across cliffs or busting up rock walls to progress. My only complaint here is the way that the camera follows your little robot on the Z-axis. The Z-axis. It just... I don't know, it's not the perfect follow camera that I would expect for a platforming game. So when you're backtracking, it causes some odd positioning issues, and you can lose track of your little guy, and you know, he'll probably die. He'll probably die. The experience is short, but it's a good example of what first-person, third-person, one-third-person virtual reality platforming would look like. And if you have a second player on hand, they can use the television as a social screen output to aid you in rescuing all the robots that are hidden in certain areas. But there are some problems with two-player co-op. First, the controls for the couch player aren't great. You have to use the PS4 controller's built-in motion sensor to look around the map, and then the joystick to pilot your little robo-hovercraft vacuum. A camera that better follows the action would be ideal here. And don't even get me started on trying to direct that second player around the map to your location, because as the VR player, you're seeing your own POV, and the little hovercraft vacuum player is just floating around wherever they want. They can go all the way ahead as long as it's opened up without you. So it doesn't tether you two together, which makes it difficult when I'm looking at something like, oh, there's a big fan, I need you to come put air on this fan to make it spin up to unlock this hidden robot. And they're like, what fan? Where's the fan? I'm like, the fan right in front of me. See, it's right next to me. Like, I don't even know where you are. I'm over here on this hill, throwing things at other robots. I don't know what's going on, but it was very frustrating, and the couch person was frustrated. I was frustrated as the VR person. Could have been better. It's still a neat little addition to the gameplay, and the only way to rescue all 20 of the robots is with the second player's help, so it does add some replay value. And next up is Monster Escape. Now this was really fun as the VR player, who takes on the role of a giant kaiju monster attacking the robot city. And it's up to the little hero bots to evacuate. Up to 4 people can pick up controllers and take on the task of collecting all of the robot citizens as they escape the giant monster. I really wish there was an easier way to show you the POV of the VR player, because the social screen does not follow your movements. It shows the couch player's action. But it's just so cool to move around, and you're looking down, seeing these tiny little robots, and you're just slamming your head into buildings and knocking down the city. Whew! Kind of reminds me of Tank for the Wii U. I really liked that game. And there's this My Kong mode that would lend itself really well to virtual reality, where you're just basically this big King Kong monster destroying the city, and the tanks are trying to shoot you down. How perfect would that be? Tank players on the couch, VR players the big monster. This should be a game. This should be a game! Please make it! As I said, the VR monster can knock down buildings with its head to slow down the robots and hopefully kill them. And when you reach the end of the city, the hero bots power up to throw random objects at the monster's head. And there's no way for the monster to fight back, so if you're the one with the headset on, get ready to bob and weave and crochet your way to victory. Otherwise, the robots are going to blow you sky high. Literally. They laser cannon your butt into space.
Yeah, shoot me. How about?
It's a short minigame, but super fun. But you gotta be careful if you're the VR player, because as soon as those robots start throwing things at your faces, your natural instinct is to protect yourself. You don't have a controller or anything, so I myself was trying to block like anchors and crates being thrown in my face, and I kept hitting the VR headset with my hands, not realizing, oh, it's not real. It isn't real, but my brain kept tricking myself. And oh, I've got a defense mechanism, and I'm just banging the headset. Luckily, there was no damage. I don't think. Alright, so we've had some fun with science fiction, and now it's time for a little classic Western action. With robots, of course. In Wanted, You are the local robo-sheriff, and you're making your way to the local saloon to take out some hardened criminals. But there's a major problem. The sheriff is really terrible at his job, I guess, and has no idea what the outlaws actually look like. So it's up to the people on the couch to describe the wanted posters to the VR player. As the game progresses, there will be even more details for the other players to point out. You don't want to shoot, the plunger the wrong guy now, do ya? The further you get, the more complicated the details become. Facial scars, specifically colored sombreros, uniquely patterned bandanas. Yeah, you gotta be specific. Just don't shoot your load too early. Well, that's pretty much all there is for Wanted. There are 4 different levels of play, one of which is an endless mode where you can just rack up an outlaw body count. Now it's time for one of the more ridiculous minigames in the Playroom VR collection, Cat and Mouse. Clearly a classic tale of the mice trying to steal the cheese. Now look here, you keep your hands off my cheese, because Game Dave loves his cheese, alright? Stay off my cheese. As the virtual reality cat, you'll hide behind the cupboard curtains, I guess, and pop through with your head to catch the mouse red-handed. Well, it's yellow-handed with the cheese, but that's really all this game is. Collect all the cheese or take out all the mice. Best out of 3.
Anything? You wanna come out?
But there is one more slightly disturbing aspect to the cat and mouse game. When you succeed as the virtual reality cat, your reward? You get to spank that butt.
Wait, what is this?
Yeah, you spank those mouse butts. I have no idea why this is a thing. It doesn't accomplish much at all, but hey, there you go. It's just there. You don't eat the mice. You just lay them all down and you just spank those mice butts. Those bad mice with their little bad butts. Moving on to the last of the main set of games, Ghost House. By far one of my favorites because this is Ghostbusters VR. Now, I do know there is an actual Ghostbusters virtual reality experience, aka Ghostbusters VR The Disappointment, but this game actually does it right. Venture into a haunted house and do some paranormal investigating and also busting. Armed with a trusty ghost scanner, let's just call it a PKE meter, players watching the television will see where the ghosts are hiding and can tell the VR player when and where to blast them. Catch all the ghosts, and you win. The VR player has to do a good job of scanning around the room, otherwise the players on the couch will not be able to help you bust anything. And the players have to be specific when calling out a ghost's location, using objects around the room for those spatial relations. Otherwise, the VR player will be flailing the proton streams all over the place without busting any heads. In a spiritual sense, of course. And don't let your electron and positron-powered lasso get away from the ghost. You'll have to wrangle them until they get sucked into your controller trap. I really had the most fun with Ghost House, and I completed all 4 levels. I just want a freaking real Ghostbusters virtual reality game! Just freaking make it. The right way, okay? Now, in February of 2017, a free update added one more game to the Playroom VR, Toy Wars. You'll be shooting down waves and waves of blocky, pixelated enemies with your DualShock 4 Gatling gun. Other players can join in on the television to bust out some sweet melee attacks to protect the VR hero from blocky destruction. And you'll need all the help you can get because one hit and you're dead with a devastating blow to your Gatling gun. It's game over at that point, and that can be super frustrating, let me tell you. I shot him in the face! What? Small BS. Last long enough and you'll take on the final boss, a giant UFO that beams down seemingly endless enemies. It's a little frightening in VR to turn and see a giant blocky snake creature right in your face. Toy Wars offers some intense first-person shooting action that was really missing from the Playroom VR experience. So those are all the games, and if you haven't noticed, we've been earning some serious coinage playing all these games. Where to spend them? Over in the Minibot's prize room. Yes, this is a very crowded bedroom, maybe? But hey, inside you've got your very own gashapon machine. Oh my goodness, it's time to toss in those coins and play the claw game to collect a bunch of cool toys to decorate the prize room with. Oh, it's DDR! How awesome is... Whoa, that is so cool! Little DDR robot. Now after collecting a bunch of capsule toys, that's really it for the Playroom VR. I think the Playroom VR really shows that party games can work with a virtual reality headset, having these separate players that are seeing something else. It reminds me a lot of Nintendo Land games when the Wii U first launched, and I think having this mixed gameplay style is perfect for virtual reality, but there's really not any other party virtual reality games for the PSVR. Unless I am mistaken, please let me know if I am, because I want more experiences like that. Most of the multiplayer experiences for virtual reality just happen online with other VR users, but I need to see some more local multiplayer that makes use of the headset. I mean, it just needs to happen. We need more virtual reality party games because a lot of people I've talked to about VR want to come over to the house and try it out. So I'll have a big party of people over and we start setting up the PSVR, somebody puts the headset on, and then we just all sit around and watch them play a VR game. Not very involved for everybody, so I want to see more party games that can make use of VR, but let everybody have a good time, because otherwise I'm going to be like, well, VR looks boring. It's because you don't have a chance to play it, because they're single-player experiences, so let's just make it happen. Don't forget about that Ghostbusters game, come on! So if you have any interest in virtual reality, start with the PlayStation VR. I highly recommend it, because you just hook it up and you're ready to go, especially if you already have a PlayStation 4. Why not? If you have just a little teensy taste of interest in VR, you will not be disappointed. You will not. This really is a brand new way to play video games and get digitally distracted.